an admirer of our son.
Something is coming in Outlander Season 8, Episode 8 that feels heavier than anything we have seen before because this time, it is not just about survival, it is about consequences. Every choice is collapsing into something bigger, and every character seems to be standing at a point where turning back is no longer possible. The forest is not just a place anymore, it feels like a trap where secrets, guilt, and war are all about to collide at the same time. And when the truth finally comes out, it may not spare anyone. After everything that has already happened in the previous episode, the world of Fraser's Ridge feels different now. Nothing feels stable anymore. The ground beneath every relationship is slowly breaking apart, and what remains is tension that no one can fully control. Jamie is no longer just a man trying to protect his home. He is being pulled back into something much larger. Something that feels like war is no longer a possibility, but a reality that is already arriving. Every decision he makes now carries weight, not just for himself, but for everyone connected to him. And the most dangerous part is that he knows it. There is no longer room for hesitation because hesitation could cost lives. Claire, on the other hand, is carrying a different kind of burden. Her strength has always been her ability to hold things together when everything is falling apart, but even she is reaching a point where emotions are harder to control. The past is not just something she remembers anymore. It is something that keeps returning in unexpected ways, forcing her to face pain she thought she had already survived. And now, with everything building toward conflict, her fear is not just about survival, it is about losing people she cannot replace. William's journey continues to feel like a storm that refuses to settle. Inside him, there is confusion, anger, and a deep conflict that he cannot fully express. Every truth he discovers seems to create a new wound instead of healing the old ones. The people he trusted feel different now, and the line between loyalty and betrayal is becoming harder for him to understand. What makes his situation more dangerous is not just what he believes, but how quickly those beliefs are changing. And in a world where trust decides survival, uncertainty can become deadly. At the same time, tensions around Amaranthus and Lord John Grey are quietly building in the background. Nothing is fully revealed yet, but the emotional pressure is increasing. Relationships that once felt stable are now under silent strain. Words are no longer enough to protect people from misunderstandings, and silence itself is starting to feel like a threat. And then there is the growing shadow of conflict on the horizon. The idea of King's Mountain is not just history in the background. It feels like a turning point that is about to pull every character into something they may not return from the same way. Men are gathering, choices are being made, and loyalty is being tested in ways that cannot be undone. But what makes everything more intense is not just the war itself. It is what is happening emotionally before it even begins. Because in Outlander, battles are never only fought on the outside. They start long before the first shot is fired. Inside relationships, inside trust, inside broken promises that have been waiting too long to explode. And now, with a title in the forest, it feels like everything is being drawn toward one place where truth cannot hide anymore. A place where every secret, every regret, and every decision will finally meet face to face. The question is no longer what will happen next. The real question is, who will still be standing when it happens? The forest is no longer just a setting in the story. It feels like a silent witness to everything that is about to break. In Outlander Episode 8, in the forest, every path seems uncertain, as if the characters are walking deeper into something they cannot fully understand until it is too late. Jamie's situation continues to grow heavier with each passing moment. His preparations are not just about strategy anymore, they feel like preparation for loss. The kind of loss that changes a man permanently. The men around him look to him for certainty, but even he is no longer fully certain about what the future holds. The pressure of leadership is no longer external. It is becoming personal. Every decision he makes carries the possibility of saving someone or losing everything. There is also a growing sense that Jamie is standing at a point where history itself is pulling him forward. The conflict surrounding King's Mountain is not just another battle. It feels like a turning point where destiny and choice begin to overlap. And in moments like these, even the strongest leaders cannot control everything. They can only decide how they face what comes next. Claire's emotional world is also becoming more fragile, even if she continues to hide it behind strength. She has always been someone who carries pain quietly, but this time, the weight feels different. It is not just about healing others. It is about watching events unfold that even her knowledge cannot fully stop. There is a sense that no matter how much she prepares, something unpredictable is closing in. And then there is William, whose inner conflict continues to deepen. Every interaction he is now feels like it is pulling him in two directions at once. The idea of family, loyalty, and truth is no longer clear to him. What he believed before is now being questioned from every angle. The more he learns, the more isolated he becomes inside his own thoughts. And isolation, in this world, is never safe. The tension between him and Lord John Grey continues to linger, like an open wound that is not healed. There is love there, but also misunderstanding, and sometimes that combination becomes more dangerous than open conflict. Because unspoken emotions tend to grow heavier over time, until they finally demand to be addressed. At the same time, Amaranthus remains a mysterious force in William's journey. Her actions and intentions are not fully visible yet, but her presence creates emotional confusion that cannot be ignored. Whether her feelings are genuine or part of something larger, the impact on William is already clear. He is no longer making decisions with a stable heart. And somewhere in all of this, the forest begins to feel like a place where different storylines are slowly converging. It is not just one journey anymore. It is multiple paths moving toward the same unseen point. People are searching, escaping, confronting, and preparing, but none of them fully realize how close they are to a moment that will change everything. Because in Outlander, when characters enter a place like this, it is never random. The forest becomes a threshold, a place where past decisions finally catch up and future consequences begin to form. And as the episode moves forward, one thing becomes clearer. What is about to happen is not just a continuation of the story, it is a turning point where everything begins to collapse into truth. As episode 8 of Outlander moves deeper into its story, the tension no longer feels like something building in the background. It feels immediate, almost unavoidable. The forest, once quiet and distant, now carries the weight of unseen movement, as if every step taken inside it is pulling characters closer to a moment they cannot escape. The idea of battle is no longer separate from daily life. It is already inside every conversation, every silence, and every decision being made. Jamie's path continues to narrow as he prepares for what may become one of the most defining conflicts of his journey. There is a quiet understanding in him now that leadership is not about control anymore. It is about endurance. He is no longer trying to stop what is coming. He is trying to face it in a way that protects what matters most, even if protection comes at a cost. Claire's presence in this unfolding chaos remains steady, but emotionally heavier than before. She is surrounded by events that cannot be fully healed or reversed. Every time she tries to hold things together, the world around her shifts again, forcing her to adjust to a reality that refuses to stabilize. And this creates a quiet emotional struggle within her, because knowing what might happen and being unable to fully prevent it is its own kind of pain. William's emotional conflict now feels like it is reaching a breaking point. Everything he once believed about loyalty and identity is becoming harder to define. The people connected to him are no longer simple figures in his life. They are complicated truths he is still trying to understand. And in this confusion, every new piece of information does not bring clarity, it brings more emotional weight. He is no longer reacting only to others, he is reacting to the collapse of certainty inside himself. There is also an increasing sense that William's choices will soon lead him into direct consequences he cannot avoid. Whether those consequences come from misunderstanding, betrayal, or protection, the outcome is becoming harder to predict. And in a world like Outlander, unpredictability is often where tragedy begins. Meanwhile, Lord John Grey's situation continues to feel dangerously unstable. The emotional and political pressure surrounding him is growing, and the sense of threat is no longer subtle. Whether it comes from misunderstanding or external forces, He is now positioned at a point where even a single decision could completely change his fate. The possibility of capture or conflict is no longer distant. It feels close enough to touch. Amaranth's presence continues to add emotional complexity to William's storyline, but now it also feels like a turning point. Nothing about her influence is fully clear, but the emotional impact is undeniable. What once felt like connection now feels like confusion layered with consequences. And William, caught between emotion and truth, is being pushed toward decisions that may not allow reversal. All of these threads begin to tighten as the episode progresses. Jamie moving toward war. Claire holding together emotional fractures. William losing clarity about trust. And unseen forces quietly pushing everyone closer to confrontation. The forest becomes more than a place. It becomes a convergence point where every storyline is slowly being drawn into the same direction. And as everything moves forward, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. In Outlander, the calm before disaster is always the most deceptive moment. Because when silence finally breaks, it never breaks gently. What begins in the forest will not stay there. It will spread, it will change, and it will leave consequences that no one is fully prepared to face.